I think that one of the greatest challenges we faced was about 2 years ago when I was involved in a terrible accident, right? And I, the experience was one that was bad, very, very bad. It was terrible because she was a nursing student at the point in time, and I was the sole breadwinner of the family. Actually, I used to say about my family, also about three families. The house that we live in, our in-laws, and I used to contribute to the home, and also my parents and me, right? And when I was involved in this terrible accident, she was the one who actually had us to step up. She imagined this girl ran the entire house on a stipend.
We're talking a little bit, and this is Valentines. And sometimes, in the midst of all of the fanfare and the commercialization, we forget the real meaning of connections and relationships and the aspects of communication that make that connection real. And Arvin and Kevin join us on set, and we're talking Couple Up, promoting healthy relationships. Good morning. How are you both?
Good morning. I'm good.
Today is about love, and we got the roses and the flowers and the everything else. But a lot of times people forget the foundations of a relationship. So let's talk a little bit about Couple Up. What is Couple Up?
Well, Couple Up basically started as an initiative that I was inspired by online that I saw from Oprah. Oprah had something called Black Love, and it was inspiring to see a lot of couples talk about their relationships and the dynamics that they would have. And I thought it would be excellent for Trinidad and Tobago to show the different dynamics that we have because we are so multi-religious, multiracial, etc. And it was important for us to show not the bad, but the good of relationships, that people could understand that there is still love within Trinidad and Tobago and, longevity of relationships.
What is love? When we talk about love, I think love to me at the age of 15 was different at 20, and it is quite different now that I'm in my 30s.
I think it's something that's dynamic. I mean, it would change over time, as you mentioned. At 15, it would seem different. The love that you may have for your parents, compared to in your 30s, that may transition to someone, that you may be looking to spend your life with. So I think it's dynamic.
Yeah. For me, I see it simply as love means different things to different people, but at the end of the day, love is never uncertain. So that's basically what it is. It should never be uncertain.
And how do you get certainty?
You just know. You can't really explain what love is. You just know. When you know, you know. And if you don't know, that's not it.
If you don't know, then clearly you're not in the right place. What are some of the things that you discovered while doing this? Because it's about promoting healthy relationships. And some of the key, obviously there must be a thread that connects all of the stories. What are maybe some of the 3 pointers you can give to all of the couples out there?
I think from the recordings that we would have done so far, which started late last year, the commonalities that we saw really were that there are a number of persons who definitely are in relationships that are fulfilling. There are a number of persons who connect with each other at a level that is not what is portrayed so negatively, so frequently. People connect, and they connect well as well. There are challenges. Of course, every relationship has challenges. I'll be married 10 years this year, later in April, and I mean, I've had challenges, I've had ups, I've had downs. But one of the things that stands tall, at least for me, is that, it's a united front. And I tell my wife that all the time. It's a united front. We actually interviewed a couple that celebrated 56 years of marriage about 2 weeks ago.
Wow, what was their secret?
Yeah. That should be airing soon, actually, yeah. But they just were satisfied to make each other happy. And we saw, we went to their home actually, and we saw they connect. We got a history because they had a 50th anniversary recording that was done a couple of years ago. And it was amazing. It was so inspiring for me as well as a young, 10 years is not really too young, but it was inspiring, quite inspiring for me.
I think most importantly, I learned the value of communication. You have to speak a language that nobody else speaks in that relationship. Either you speak your wife's language or your husband's language, or either both of you will develop a language that both of you will speak very fluently. And I think that's the most important thing, being able to speak a language together and continue to communicate throughout the relationship.
And, sometimes people, you talk about the stick-to-itiveness, as in you try and you try and you try, and sometimes people try, but you try at a failing something, and sometimes they don't try enough. How do you know what's worth fighting for and what's not?
That is a very good question. I think if you see the value in the relationship and you can foresee something fruitful from the relationship, I think it's worth fighting for. I think you have to put logic and emotion together and ensure that logically I can move forward with this person, and emotionally I feel as though I will be satisfied and I can satisfy the person, then it's worth fighting for. If the logic and the emotion don't have good weight, I think, you know, you should responsibly and, you know, part ways if you have to.
And, you know, what are some of the things that you want people? Why should I want to do this? Because it's all about coupling up. And we talk about failed relationships as infidelity. Things just happen. Life just happens. You talk about communication, not stick-to-itiveness, and speaking the language. But people are going to tell you, you know, like I always tell people that you spend 8 hours a day, 8 to 10 hours a day investing in a job. You probably should spend the same amount of time investing in your relationship or that connection. Why is the failure rate so high?
I would think, just as you mentioned, stick-to-itiveness. Persons, we live in a society where things, if something is broken, persons would hardly try to fix it. As with times gone by, you know, they would try to mend, they would try to work at it. It's easy to just replace. And I think it's simply that, you know, you think of a vehicle, something happened to your vehicle, sell that, you buy something else, you know, rather than you work on it. Persons probably don't work enough on it. And as you said, life happens. Things happen in relationships, and it's just sticking to it. Just sticking to it, and keeping focused.
You gotta stick to it. Closing comments. What do you want to tell people about Couple Up on this Valentine's Day?
We welcome all types of individuals who would want to come forward and give their story. And we're not looking for the rosy type of love. We want everybody to get an insight into what type of work it takes to be part of a relationship that's healthy. And we definitely want people on board for us to spread the message, not only through our web series, but hopefully come onto CNC3 and have our own show to do, you know, a lot more towards promoting healthy relationships.
Sponsors?
Yeah, sponsors.
And it is just about a healthy relationship. And sometimes you just have to work at it. We'll take a short break and we'll come back. Nisha Guy joins on set, and we're going to put you in some love moods.